So, I have to be honest, I'm still kind of in shock that this isn't going to be a Super Bowl episode. We fell short in the playoffs against the Bengals, the eventual Super Bowl champions, and now we have a pretty big offseason ahead of us. Every offseason's a big offseason when you have a fairly dominant team. So, getting down to business here. The big signing, of course, that we have to worry about is Myles Jack. Everybody else is just random filler, with the exception of Ricky Sparks and Josh Shields, who, yes, I am very worried about not being able to re-sign. We'll see how this goes. Ricky Sparks is my top priority. He wants to get paid. And, yeah, get paid he will. I'm going to try like hell just to make sure he signs. I want no funny business. Over $67 million to Ricky. And he's going to leave. No, you're not. You're probably going to be franchise tagged. Josh Shields, we're going to see if we can sign as well. Why do I feel like I'm just going to have to majorly boost this offer? I might as well. Let's give him about a $55 million offer. Josh, are you staying? Awesome. So we had to kind of... Nope. Okay. It's just going great thus far, isn't it? It's an online save too, so what's done is done. I don't think I'm going to overpay Jaquan Spears. I mean, it's been 4 years and he hasn't improved. So we might as well go talk to Myles Jack. See what's going on there, and see if he's going to stay. I doubt it at this rate. Myles, buddy. Jesus Christ, you want too much money. He wants too much money. I gotta let him go. He's 30. Decline might start setting in. I know I could sign him and then just get rid of him once the money starts to be an issue. We're saying goodbye to Myles Jack. Now, I know the franchise tag is an option, but I think we're going to risk potential... Oh, God. Who would I rather keep? I'd rather keep the O-lineman. We're going to franchise tag Josh Shields, I think. We're gonna let them go. We're gonna let them all go, and we're gonna see what's out there, and potentially make a play on them in free agency. So already, we're seeing some change, and we're gonna have to make some moves here. Potentially, $26.5 million in cap space. Myles Jack is the top free agent available. Quarterback-wise, while there are concerns, it's fairly obvious Dawson's our guy. Running back-wise, Moses Gibson's not bad, but he's no Taylor Spencer. Spencer, obviously, is who we're going to go with. I don't mind keeping Oliver Sheffield as the secondary option as a power back rather than overpaying Johnson here. So we're still good to go. Fullback-wise, Fredrickson's obviously staying. Wide receiver-wise, Devontae Adams is 33, so no thank you. Cooper Kupp is there. For the most part, we're fine. We are fine. Jaquan Spears isn't bad. I'm tempted to bring him back. Let's take a look really quickly at our receiver core. I mean, our top three is set with Crosby, Pemberton, and Harry. I don't know. Maybe we should look to bring back Jaquan Spears, and then that takes the pressure off to have to draft a wide receiver. I think we might look at keeping Jaquan here. I mean, we could go with like a big 1-year deal to Devontae Adams, but that's expensive as hell. Bringing in Cooper Kupp again on a 1-year deal. You know, we'll look back at that in a minute. Tight end wise, we're good to go. CJ Sheets isn't bad. He's not really any better than Abraham, though, so that's fine. We need to bring back Josh Shields, and it's going to be an expensive deal, but we're going to go for it. I mean, obviously, the O-line, so valuable for us. So valuable to anybody. So if we bump this up, this is going to be an expensive-ass contract. We're looking at just under $75 million. So 102-point offer. We'll see what happens. I mean, the O-line is still going to be relatively strong. All we'd have to do is bring in another replacement in the draft. Worst case scenario, much like we did last year. Luther Harold's there. Orlando Brown. We should be okay. Worst case scenario, we have to bring in a replacement like I mentioned. And then on the D-line, obviously Kirby's there. Clinton Tuck's there. A secondary DT wouldn't be the worst option in the world, but we can look for somebody in the draft. On that left-hand side, Lionel Hill, of course. We're good there. I think it's... I mean, as much as I'd love to go for Miles Jack again, he's just too expensive. He really is. But Ricky Sparks, obviously I want to bring him back. There is no doubt there. It's a 91-point offer. I want to keep these two guys if I can. For some reason, I'm much more comfortable potentially overpaying to keep them. And it would be an overpayment. God damn. God damn, this would be an overpayment. Am I allowed to even bump up the money by that much? What are we looking at? 91-point offer. I feel like that just automatically resets. Yeah, it does. I'm going to have to move somebody, potentially, to make those two contracts work. Losing Ricky Sparks would suck. It really would. But is there anybody that I can move? And again, we're dealing with the aftermath of having a quarterback on one of the largest goddamn deals I've ever seen. Running back-wise, we're fine. Harry's making a lot, but he's worth it for at least another 2 years. Abraham's not getting paid that much. Is there really a spot? Jim Peters, move him to save a little bit of money. He didn't have a good dev pattern, if I'm not mistaken. He doesn't. So yeah, we can move him out. Landry's getting paid a ton. Young's getting... I mean, we're having to pay the offensive line now. That's the issue. If we want to keep them together, we got to pay them. And then defensively, Josh Vance was picked up in the draft last year. Not making all that much. Collins Wakefield was picked up as well. There's really not a ton of spots where we can save a ton of money. Trying to move out Peters and sending him to frickin' Cincy might be a mistake. And to be honest, I don't even want to trade for a pick this year. I'd rather trade for a pick next year as to not get hit with the extra cap. What draft picks do we have this year? We do have 2 first-round picks and quite a few thirds. So Peters and a 4th for that 5th. Perfect. So we free up some cap space. But looking at it now and what we need in the draft, maybe it is for the best to let those 2 guys go. As much as that sucks. Because in the draft, we're looking at a wide receiver and an offensive lineman to replace the outgoing Shields. Defensive line, we're fine. Maybe another DT. Linebacker-wise, we have huge need now. That linebacker core was just devastated. Corners were fine. Godfrey, Ivy, and Monroe are a fine core for us, and then we still have Choice and Parrish Wynn. So in this draft, we're looking at linebackers and offensive line replacements and another wide receiver. It's pretty much what we're having to deal with, and I think we could make it work. I mean, those 2 picks are a little bit later. We have 3rd rounders that we could move up with. There are some players there that I really don't want to lose, but money-wise, it's a real problem. Yeah, money-wise, it's a real problem. We got $22 million to try and make that work. I just don't think we're going to be able to. I don't want to lose Ricky Sparks, though. He's so good. Losing Miles Jack and Ricky Sparks would be a disaster. As far as the offer to Ricky goes, how expensive of a deal would that be? That's a 97-point offer. I think I have to try and keep Ricky. I think I have to. We can't really afford to lose 2 top-notch linebackers at the same time. So I think we're going to try to keep Ricky. And I know for a fact it sucks, but Miles Jack is gone. I'm just trying to think of, is there any way to really keep Shields as well? And I just don't think there is. we got to go with the Belichick method for the most part of, okay, some people are worth big money, some people aren't. And we've already spent some big money on that offensive line. And obviously there are some defensive players as well that are certainly getting paid. You know, linebacker-wise, it's not going to be the worst idea in the world to see if Connor Wakefield can step up. So if we don't sign the linebacker here, we can just draft one. And really that's all we need is one. One linebacker, one O-lineman, and a wideout. And then we can maybe fill in a little bit of depth here and there. Is it worth it to hand out another big deal? I just don't think it is. I just don't think it is. So, Ricky, I don't know, buddy. You might be done here. If we drop that, it's a 94-point offer. That puts us into third. What puts us into first place? $74 million. Doesn't really have us jump up at all. Bump that up by 2. $75 million offer. And then, yeah, just money-wise, it's not there for Shields. I think we got to let them both go. Yeah. We got to play it safe with the money. This is the sacrifice for paying the quarterback as much as we're paying him. Now, there was an option that I was intrigued in, and that is Jake Elliott at kicker. Because I just don't know if old Homan there is going to improve. Actually, Alan Marciano is the better way to go. Again, I feel like kicker was a rough spot for us last year. So if we can bring in Marciano, obviously I'm going to drop that offer pretty significantly. But if we can make this work, that'd be pretty sweet. Let's get that up into the green, hopefully. 66. That should do. So we're only going to go for the kicker. I hate to say it, but we are saying goodbye to Miles Jack, Ricky Sparks, and Josh Shields on the O-line. And we're going to look to bring the replacements in the draft. So, taking a bit of a hit, but the money can only be stretched so thin. So, taking a look here. Let's see what we have scouted out. As we go to wide receiver, which is already done. Guys like Isaiah Hurst, Chris Edwards, certainly targets. The O-line, we have almost completely scouted out. And linebackers, ugh. Do we have an O-line scout right now? We don't. Okay, we gotta be pretty selective here. Relatively selective. Oliver Page looks great. Alright, we already have you scouted. Let's take a look at Cool. 30 reps. Tarrant. Maybe. I had a feeling that guy was pretty good. You know, let's take a look at this dude too. Not so good. 31 reps. Sundberg at 26. Absolutely not. Wyatt Duffy. Lambert. Absolutely not. Let's take a look here. Talbot is a god. Luther Barker. Also, well, he's decent. He's decent. Nothing too special. Minshew will not be there. Colvin. 30 reps at least. Let's take a look. Again, we only have so many points to use. Bit of a risk there, but I want to use it on Carlton Coates. We'll see what happens in this next week. A kicker still didn't sign, huh? He must have gone elsewhere. Which, hey, we could look for a kicker too. That's fine. Go back to right guard. Coates wasn't worth it. And then at right tackle, we should have time to look at everybody that we want to look at. I hope. And the more right tackles that are available here, the more difficult it becomes. So we're going to be looking at all of these guys. Kyle Hale out of Miami looks like a beast. So we go to linebacker. Left-hand side fully scouted. Middle is where we started. Well, let's take a look at Peterson, who's a monster. Justin Burrows is incredibly well-rounded. Jenkins is okay. And Chester Collins, Start taking a look at that right-hand side in the next round when we can. And that'll be our last week of scouting. So Marciano accepted that low ball offer, so we will have a new kicker next year. But obviously now there's just a little bit more pressure on this draft than I thought there would be. But clearly we have two decent options at linebacker, which I'm pretty pumped about. And I think we're going to be okay. I hope that we're going to be okay. So free agent-wise, obviously we'll see where the top names went, including our former players. But hey, sometimes you got to let go of people. Miles Jack goes to Oakland, or Vegas at this point. Ricky Sparks went to Atlanta. That hurts. That hurts. And so did Josh Shields. Wow, they're going to stay teammates. So that brings us to the draft. Let's get a look at the board. The Raiders have that number 1 pick. Our pick, or at least our first pick in this first round, is 20th. Now, obviously, wanted to look at Adam Isaac. He's not the guy. We're sticking with who we have. It's going to work. Running back-wise, we're pretty much going to stick with who we have, I would assume. Hendricks is 23. Andrews, I'm going to say no to both of them. Not going to be targets here. Fullback-wise, trucking, lead block catching, lead block stiff arm trucking, lead block stiff arm carrying. I mean, there are some options, we'll say. Mainly these two that I'm interested in if we pick up anybody. Wide receiver-wise, Hurst is down to a second-round pick, which scares me. The old red second round scares me because his speed is great. His agility is great. 5'11". Decent jump. He might still be worth it, but now out of nowhere, Arthur Hutton doesn't really have the speed. He's not bad. Like, he's not overly fast, he's not overly agile, but he's got a 41-inch vert at 6'3". And he's good at catching the ball. So, maybe, just maybe. But all these other reds really scare me. Yeah. So we have Edwards, Tyamani Tillman. We're only going to look at the greens here for the most part. And we'll see who is an option in a moment. Tight end wise, we're not taking anybody. Wasn't overly impressed. On the O-line, still just going to look at the greens here. And we'll make the best of it. O-line, though, it's looking a little bit rough. But we'll see what we got. And at right tackle, quite a few options, including Kyle Hale, who will probably have a good overall, but won't have a good dev pattern, is my guess. So again, we pretty much know what we're targeting here. Although we'll still see what's available. Someone like DeAndre Bryan's a monster, but that's just going to make it easier for us to draft who we want later on in the first round, I hope. And then maybe a steal like Jay McAllister. We do need another defensive tackle. Linebacker-wise, looking rough there. Corey Peterson's available. Brian Crawford. And then on the right, Nelson Winters and Jack Jacobs. Secondary, of course, heading into this season, felt like there was a bigger emphasis on finding more help here. And that kind of disappeared. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing because some of the talent here is looking a little bit weak outside of Odin. And then kickers, just to double check, I might take one late, because again, we still have plenty of picks. Want to find a younger kicker that's worth taking. And then punter-wise, 21-year-old Cam Garfield, Shelton's 22, Malecki's 22, and Sylvan is 23. Okay, so we get to the board. And obviously the first target here that we got to pay attention to is Arthur Hutton. The fullbacks, I mean, whatever, they'll go later. But it's Hutton and Edwards. The two guys I really have my eye on. Both are physical options. But Chris Edwards is a beast. He's faster. He's stronger. He has an even better vert at 6'6" than Hutton does. I mean, I feel like both of these guys are going to be amazing. It would be shocking if they weren't. And then on the O-line, Kai Minor, we have a couple of other options, but they're a little bit further down. So Kai Minor should be a monster. He should be. I want to get both of those receivers, but my assumption is that we'll only be able to get one of them, which really sucks. But we'll do what we can here, and I just want to make notes of Hutton. Well, you know, I'm going to make note of Edwards first, because I think he's going to be better. And that is Edwards and Hutton. That are the targets there. Left guard, obviously, we have Minor, who would be worth taking early on. Anybody else here? I mean, Talbot might be able to be a steal and a half. I'm just looking at who we're going to have to potentially pick early on. The D-line, I mean, Mays and Falk are fine. They're great even, but we just don't need that defensive line help. I mean, you could talk about picking up like a Lynn Mays if we wanted to and moving him to the linebacker, but that's a bit of a risk. So while there are decent options there, I'm not too concerned. And we could walk away with a steal in Jay McAllister. So then we get to the linebackers. And there is Corey Peterson, who, I mean, he's just a monster. Mid-first round projection, by the way. Let me actually go back here. When is Mays, or not Mays, Minor projected? Early first. And Hutton, mid-first. Edwards, mid-first. Okay. Not too bad. And on the right-hand side, Winters is a mid-first. Big fan of him, too. Big fan of him. And Jack Jacobs also looks great. So again, we need... Minor is definitely the top target. And while I do think someone like Aaron Frost is actually... Yeah, he's going to be a bit of a beast. That's not the immediate need. The top talent in the secondary looks great. But obviously we have, you know, a bit more glaring needs elsewhere. So as long as we get one of those two wide receivers, I think we're good. I mean, technically, really, it could look elsewhere. Like I said, quarterback-wise, we're fine. Running back-wise, we're fine. We need that one O-lineman. The O-line's going to be strong regardless. The defensive line is fine. We could look for a DT later on as a secondary need. But right now, it's to find a linebacker to go next to Wakefield or Morris Kirby. And like I said, the secondary, one more dominant corner would be great, but we have to prioritize other things. So we'll be keeping an eye between Peterson, Winter, and Jacobs. We're just going to make sure we get one of the three, whatever one's left, and then we'll trade up to try and save as much money as we possibly can. We'll just leave it up to chance. And for the O-line, I mean, we might have to settle for a steal being the better option like Antoine Talbot. So hopefully someone like Minor's available to us later on. We'll see. So the Raiders with the number 1 pick take Winters. So a linebacker is already off the board. He's only a 75, which isn't that bad, but he'll have a good dev pattern, I'm sure. The Dolphins at 2 take Mays. Lynn Mays, 77, fucking edge. Jesus Christ, he's going to be a beast. Jets at 3. Take the other, just a beast of an edge in DeAndre Bryan, so the division's getting tougher. Colts at 4. Take Corey Peterson, so there is one linebacker left, and that is Jacobs. So we're having to trade up a little bit earlier than I thought we would, but I need to make sure I get him. And we're going to go talk to the Packers and see what we can do. So let's give up that later first. They do need O-line help, but I really don't have the depth there to help them. I wonder if I could give up Dudley Mayo. Can I give up Dudley? No, they don't want Dudley, and I just accidentally removed the pick. I love when that happens. Vance or Collins might work. Collins works. Collins works. You know, how close are we actually by just using Collins? I might be able to keep that first. Maybe not. But let's go for our second rounder. What do you think now? It's close. So yeah, we'll be able to keep that other first. which is nice. Let's use Collins a second and a sixth for the 5th overall pick. And it's going to take a little bit more than that. We'll use our 4th. What do you think, Green Bay? Thank you very much. So there we go. We are trading up. We already have our Sparks replacement in Wakefield. We'll see if he can develop. Right now, we're going to be picking up our Miles Jack replacement, and that is Jack Jacobs out of Washington. Might actually keep him on the edge and maybe move Wakefield into the middle. But this guy looks like he should be a monster. And I've been bamboozled. Hoodwinked, in fact. This could be a very interesting year for us at linebacker. A very interesting year. Makes you wonder how good those other linebackers are. The Vikings at 6 take Jay Falk. Maybe taking an edge and moving him to linebacker was the better way to go. Saints at 7 take Bart with 2 T's Whitaker, another edge. Steelers at 8 took Tyrone Bright. Not surprised, he's a great safety. Chiefs at 9, Lane Flemister. Washington took Arthur Hutton. I am now afraid to trade up to get Edwards. But Edwards was who I wanted. And I'm still going to risk it. I'm not going to be scared off. I need him. Jacksonville, let's talk turkey. Or cats. Like, you know what I mean. The 11th pick in this draft. They want help at wide out. I can't help there. Unless you're interested in Quentin Gordon, which you're not. So that's fun. O-line, I can't help. I mean, unless you want Dudley Mayo, I can't really help you. And you don't. Can I interest you in a Vance? No. Okay, so it's just going to have to be a pure draft pick swap. We'll go with that pick there, and see what they think. They don't like it enough. What about another 3rd rounder? I can't stand you, Jacksonville. Ever tell you that? My 2 high value 3rds. Alright. Hardball. I get it. 2nd round pick next year. What do you think? I can't believe you. And a 3rd rounder. Come on. Please tell me that there's someone that you just want to get rid of that has like negative value, please. I'll take on Thurman. What do you think? There we go. So, hey, we pick up a random center for O-line depth who's a little bit overpaid. I am very much afraid of what this pick could be after I was hoodwinked at linebacker. But we're going to see what's up. I know it's a little bit early to take him, but, I mean, if this guy's not a beast, then I should never draft a wide receiver again. Chris Edwards is the pick. You know, had we just won the Super Bowl, everything would have been fine. Had we just won the Super Bowl, everything would be fine. 96 jumping at 6'6". But that low dev pattern, yikes. Yikes, I say. We'll see if Miner's still on the board by the time we get to our next pick. Odin goes to Detroit. The Panthers took Isaiah Hurst. Giants at 14 took Aaron Frost. Cowboys take a terrible wideout. Broncos at 16 take a terrible edge. Titans took Barrett. Rams go for Shields. And the Niners took the quarterback, Adam Isaac. So that O-lineman is available that I wanted. Kai Miner. And he will be our final pick of the 1st round. I can't possibly go 0 for 3, can I? Let's find out. Oh, thank God. So at least the O-lineman that's going to replace Shields is a bit of a beast at 21 years old. That is incredibly helpful. But, man, those first 2 picks were incredibly disappointing. If their dev pattern goes up, it could be worth it in the future. But for the most part, it's not looking too good. We need a quarterback, potentially. We need a running back, potentially. I mean, really, right now, I think outside of looking for a defensive tackle, we take the best player available. Maybe another linebacker. We take the best player available now at this point. Unfortunately, we're not on the board until the 3rd round. So we might have to make some moves. So fullback-wise, we'll take a look later. Let's take a look at Tillman, way too slow. Hughes, way too slow. Anton White, fast. I don't really like the grades, though. I'm going to remove all of them. On the O-line, I need better grades here. Like Oliver Page, Derek Dewey, Tarrant, and obviously Talbot. Talbot is absolutely a target, and I think has to be our next target, as well as Van Anthony or Kyle Hale. So there are some good O-linemen coming up that we could potentially snag late. And just taking a look at the remaining options here. I mean, again, Jay McAllister is a monster. I don't think Burnett's going to be very good. Or Crawford. Corners. I really wish awareness and catching wasn't up there, but, you know. Maybe take one of them later on. Okay. So, game plan. I don't even know if we want to trade up into the 2nd round. Page should still be on the board. Talbot. The only way we get Talbot is if we trade up. He is the one to worry about. So I think we'll look to do that. Although, really, we don't even need the O-line help now. We have our guy. We have our guy. You know what? We're just going to go to our next pick. It pains me, but we'll see where Talbot goes. I'm going to save some money here because the O-line really isn't what we need help with. We have a strong 5. You know, we could bring him in and then trade somebody else to free up a bit of money, but we wouldn't want to do that this season anyway. We don't want to weaken the O-line more than it's already been weakened. So we will go back and look. But here we go. We do have a 3rd round pick here, and the question is, who are we taking? So Oliver Page is there, but we shouldn't have to take him this early. Tarrant, then Van Anthony's still there. Hale is still there. Defensive line, again, we don't really need much help there. Jay McAllister, still on the board, and then nobody in the secondary. So, our next pick after this is 26th. I think we're going to go for probably Page, Hale. I just want to play it safe and take Jay McAllister now. So that is what we're going to do. 23-year-old DT out of Buffalo is not as good as I was hoping, but it's a little bit of depth at the very least. Can't really hate it. And as we get closer to the 4th round, we'll see what we're dealing with here. And the answer, I mean, Oliver Page is there. I think I like Page more than Tarrant at this point. I mean, we're just going to be able to stock up on O-linemen. There really wasn't any point to trade up earlier. O-lineman it is for the next 2 picks, and then later on, we'll see what else is there. So we're going to go for Kyle Hale out of Miami, who just looks like an absolute monster. And he is. 77 overall, normal development at 23 years old, so he's at least a trade piece or a ridiculous depth option for the upcoming season, but as expected, good overall. Not exactly a good dev pattern. And as far as who else is on the board, we're just going to keep stocking up on these O-linemen. Let's go for Van Anthony next, out of Rice. He's a depth option. This draft has not exactly gone according to plan. I don't know if you can tell, but I feel like I've been bamboozled by some of the quality. We are going to go for Oliver Page next. Decent depth option. 73 overall, has him 20th in the draft. Let's get rid of this pick, I think. How many picks do we have left? Nope, we're going to make this pick. Okay. So we're going to take a fullback, a kicker, and then a punter. And fullback-wise, I think James Newton, the old Gamecock, is the way to go. James, come on down, buddy. 71, damn it. I've been trying like hell. It was last year that I got a superstar dev pattern fullback. And now I'm obsessed with trying to find another one in the draft, and I haven't had much luck. But we have our fullback. I mean, we already had one, but still. Kicker-wise. Let me just double-check the ages again. 21, 22, and 22. We're going to go for 6'3", Andrew Wilson. He's terrible. He is terrible. The quality of kickers out of the draft is just abysmal. And that brings us to our final pick. And that is going to be, I think, Cam Garfield. Yeah, Cam Garfield out of UConn, who's also terrible. Okay, so what did we learn today, guys and or gals, and or, hey, just live your life and be happy? Maybe pay the big money for your free agents, because you can be hoodwinked in the draft by players who should have better dev patterns than they do. Overall, we're still going to be okay. We're going to be a fine team. But damn. Damn. And you know the quality of some of these players is going to be tremendous. Antoine Talbot did go in the first round. Yep. I knew he was going to be that good. Maybe I shouldn't have saved that money. Today is what we call a day to forget. A day to forget. Still a good team. Still looking good heading into next season. We should be a playoff team, no problem. But some people are going to have to step up. Hint, hint, wink, wink.